Okay, witch talk is so cute. You get crystals, spell jars, aesthetic vibes, but the word witch actually used to mean something so different. It means you could have been tortured to death for owning your herbs, okay? In the church, they had an exact protocol on how to do it. Hi, my name is Sabrina, and on this channel, we explore haunted history, witch trial cases, and the lives of those whose voices were silenced. Sometimes by tragedy, sometimes by time, and sometimes, which may be familiar to you, by trauma. So maybe, just maybe, these stories will help you tune into your own. So if that speaks to you, just hit the subscribe to support the channel. You can get future updates if you do so, and you get the chance to join a community that actually listens to the past and dares to question the present. Thank you. May I introduce you to the devil himself, born in the church, sperm donated by the Pope. Well, this is a true story, a story many of you are just so painfully unaware of. And to make one thing clear, ever since I was a little girl, I enjoyed the magic of the magic, right? I love seeing others enjoying their passion, tarot spell work, crystal collecting, meditation, astrology, and so on and so on. So please continue doing so. Okay, so for as long as I can remember, at least, I have been fascinated, okay, by not only their gruesome fate, but also because of their undeniable strength. So please don't ever forget about their stories, and we'll continue to tell their stories on this channel. So the first recorded execution for witchcraft happened in 1324 to a woman named Petronilla de Meath. Okay, medieval courts and churches, they just had already executed people as witches using local laws way before the book. Kramer and Sprenger's 1486 to 89 work didn't start the flames, no. It just simply became the first single systematic handbook that judges and inquisitors across Europe could all quote to justify torture and burning. Think of it as a protocol. Instead of everyone doing how they just pleased to erase 60,000 people, they just simply needed an approved document or handbook to make sure things are controlled while they did so. The author, Heinrich Kramer and Jacob Sprenger. Both of them were actually Dominican inquisitors, members of the Dominican order, which means order of preachers. Specially appointed by the Pope, okay, to seek out and prosecute heresy within the Western Church, aka the Christian community. Kramer was driven by exorcism cases, man. He was obsessed with them. I mean, teenager fan, obsessed, okay? He was insane. He also feared diabolical influence. And I somewhere read that he had sex fantasies, okay, about seeing women and children suffer in the most horrifying ways. Other sources say poor little Kramer was traumatized by what he had witnessed during exorcism cases. Yeah. Again, I wasn't there, okay? I can only assume it was most likely a mix of both. But hey, one thing is completely clear. They were both completely sick individuals, while at least one of them suffering from a huge, and I mean huge ego problem, okay? Maybe he was rejected. Could he have been humiliated? I mean, who the heck will ever know, right? Anyway, Pope Innocent VIII was not that innocent in this entire story himself, okay? He actually approved this insane idea because Kramer and Sprenger, remember, both somehow convinced him that witchcraft, as they seen it, is a huge threat to the Christian church and Christianity and anywhere else. He created a bull, basically a soft but still fucked up version of the Malleus Maleficarum. And I need to add this detail because that's what I do for you. So here's the simplified version of how the Pope approved this complete nonsense.
You want to know if I regret it? I don't. I signed the bull. I gave them the power. I turned whispers into law and suspicion into fire. I did it not in ignorance, but in full knowledge of what would follow. I was not deceived. I was not misled. I was the head of the church, and I knew exactly what I was doing. I saw a fractured Europe. I saw dissent, rebellion, women healing without permission, people questioning the order we built. And I answered with ink and seal. Sumus desiderantes affectibus. That was my decree. That was my will. I did not weep for the women who screamed under iron. I did not mourn the children left behind. I did not pray for the souls we burned, because I did not care.
Pope Innocent VIII, deeply worried about the spread of heresy and witchcraft, issued this official order to give full power to two inquisitors, Heinrich Kramer and Jacob Springer. So their mission was to just hunt down anyone accused of turning away from the Catholic faith and making pacts with the devil. And the Pope claimed that in parts of Germany, people were calling on demons, casting spells, and just committing horrifying acts, like killing unborn children, for example, destroying crops, spreading disease, and just stopping couples from having children. These people, he said, had rejected their faith and were doing the devil's work. Yes, because there's no other reason for that. Some local leaders tried to block their inquisitors, saying they had no right to act those areas. The Pope, however, responded by giving them total authority to arrest, imprison, and punish anyone they could find guilty, no matter their status or position. He even warned that anyone who stood in their way would be kicked out of the church and cursed. Whatever that may mean. I'm not sure, man. Anyway, although we don't know if this Pope was pressured into signing it into going to effect, but one thing is for sure, the church most definitely has way more blood on their hands from that moment on.
The church was never the home of God. It was the womb where fear was fed and born again in Scripture. We twisted the word into a weapon. We made obedience holy and doubt heresy. You confuse God with the church, then you've never met God. God was not in the courtroom. God was not in the flames. God was not in the ink I spilled. That was us. That was me. And I would do it again.
Now, Kramer and his bulldog fellow inquisitors reported demonic possessions, exorcisms that did not work in their favor, and they collected names of those leaders who were unwilling to act.
Spectral illusions, demonic pacts, shape-shifting. These cannot be broken by gentle words. We prescribed calibrated coercion. Pain, yes, but pain with purpose. After my Innsbruck trial was quashed in 1485, every woman I accused released, my authority marked. I saw the truth. Local courts were weak, fragmented, powerless. They lacked the will and the tools to confront the devil's agents. Forward. In 1489, we printed the Malleus and let the papal seal speak louder than academic whispers. Do I feel remorse? No. Remorse implies doubt. We believed, truly, that harsh measures purified the body, so the soul might live. Any suffering was regrettable, yes, but necessary for the salvation of Christendom.
So Kramer and Springer then sent these records over to Rome. Their most convincing point: existing church courts are powerless. And how the bull became the Malleus, you ask? Easy peasy. It just took me forever to understand, right? But I found the answer, so I'm sharing this with you. So the Pope signed off whatever messed up narrative Kramer and his partner put into the script. With this, the Pope also gave Kramer and Springer papal inquisitors in the German lands and ordered bishops to support their work. Basically, Kramer legally became an official empowered agent of the church. Get this. Like getting a promotion, pretty much. This gave judges a step-by-step torture and trial manual. The result was decades of state-sanctioned brutality, mass paranoia, and the solidification of witch hunting as official policy. Then in 1487, the University of Colonies Faculty of Theology reviewed and approved the manuscript. Yes, they did. After it was cleared for printing, Kramer and his partner in crime became parents of the printed version of pure evil itself in 1489, Malleus Maleficarum. So I laid out some of the facts found in the book, made it easier to understand. Okay, inside the Malleus, Kramer and Sprenger insist witches work with the devil, casting curses, flying at night, even using puppet magic. They tell judges to check for secret witch marks, like use torture to force confessions and punish anyone who dares deny witchcraft. All justified by Bible quotes, which you can find in the description below. See, like, I'm not allergic to the Bible, but I just don't feel very comfortable reading it, and I never did, so I copied it down for you. The Malleus is split into 3 parts, okay? 1, the method of questioning by torture. This was their go-to move. They loved this one, okay? If someone was accused of witchcraft, they would be interrogated under torture, horrific torture, because the logic was, if you're innocent, you'll confess anyway. They believed witchcraft was just an exceptional crime, so normal rules they didn't apply. Torture was totally justified in their eyes. 2nd, the admission of all testimony. Literally, anyone could accuse you. Malleus says that in cases of heresy or witchcraft, any witness whatsoever is to be admitted to evidence. That meant your enemy, your jealous neighbor, or even someone previously convicted of a crime could testify easily against you. And their word could be enough to get you or your loved one arrested. 3rd, the presumption of guilt based on status or behavior. They didn't call it this exactly, but the logic was baked into the whole book, okay? If you were a midwife, an older woman, or someone who just lived alone, or even just someone who questioned the church like me, you were suspicious, okay? The text argues that women are more prone to witchcraft because of their weaker faith and carnal desires. So yeah, it was basically a doctrine. It proves witches exist and justifies hunting them. It lays out the devilish powers and rituals, and they basically argued that witchcraft weakened the church's spiritual authority. Yeah, the first draft was issued in December 1484, which it was basically the church's legal authorization, okay? They put a stamp on it and say, yeah, you can go ahead and do that. The Pope approved this to go into effect, which was then called the Bull, and the Bull provided the legal and theological foundation. The official and most gruesome witch trials and witch hunts happened in Europe between the 16th and the 17th century. It is suggested that there were 40,000 to 60,000 women who were executed. They died either through torture or, if they made it, from fire. The reason for all of this was the Malleus Maleficarum, aka the Hexenhammer. It was originated in Germany, and its mission, aiming to prove witchcraft was real, dismiss its doubters, point out that most accused witches were women, and give judges simple steps to catch and convict them. Witchcraft, the book says, is working with the devil to hurt people. That means making a deal with the devil for magic, using spells to destroy crops or kill animals, casting curses that make people sick or die, sleeping with demons at night, flying through the air, turning into animals, or other things. Even saying you don't believe in any of this could get you in really big trouble. No glitter, no sparks, no miracles, and no crystal balls. And I want to honor what's hidden, okay? I love the raw, the ugly truth behind all of this. And I want you to know, okay, that sometimes the truth, it comes with violence, blood, unbearable sadness, and death. It's nothing that we should ever look away from, but look it straight in the eye, even if it's scary. Sit with it, recognize it, understand it, learn from it, spread the word if you need to. The very first Salem hanging was Bridget Bishop on June 10th, 1692. Salem's courts operated under the Massachusetts Bay Colonies Witchcraft Act and local case law, not the 15th century Malleus Maleficarum. Nearly all 13 original colonies held witchcraft prosecutions between 1607 and 1783. New England saw about 57 trials, until 1691, aside from Massachusetts, Connecticut, and New Haven, executed a very much handful, like 9 men and 2 women, between 1637 and 1663. Now, Plymouth Colony's 1635 law made witchcraft a capital crime. A smaller panics erupted in New York and Virginia, though very kind of far fewer ended up in hanging or burning. So why does this even still matter? Like today, the Malleus Maleficarum is viewed as a deeply flawed yet invaluable historical document. Women, children, and men, they were all executed. There's only one to blame for this crazy disaster. Although I always say the weapon is only as dangerous as the person who owns it. And the weapon, I talk about is called the Malleus Maleficarum. The owner is the church, although they want nothing to do with it. Historians now understand how fear, women-hating, and religious authority combined to spark Europe's witch hunts. And the theologians study is a cautionary example for how sacred texts can be twisted to justify violence. Now, just like reading any book, no matter what it says in the publisher, always question, don't ever blindly follow others' stuff. Just find your own truth. That's the most important part, in my opinion. I've been talking so much about these cases of the European witch trials, and I never get tired of it. It's like truly fascinating to me, but I also experience these stories with a very, 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 very heavy heart. And it's like I'm right there with them, holding their stories, writing them down, Try to film it, honor it, hoping their stories will live on. Man, I even try to make them come back to life, by using pretend interviews. And part of me, it really hopes you feel it too, And if you do, thank you so much for sticking all the way to the end. I hope one day we will hear your story as well. I hope even one day people will stick around to listen until the end to hear your story. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want me to get into more detail about the book, let me know in the comments below. I also linked a copy of this book in the description, along with a lot of other information. For those of you that prefer reading over listening, go ahead and click that link. Have a good night, and thank you so much for checking in. Talk to you another time. Bye. Take care.